So, all right. Then also tell me, like, what is the prime function of roots? What is
To
the prime
absorb
function?
water minerals.
Yes, absorption. Okay.
Anchorage, uh, the
Uh,
phytohormones.
Synthesis of plant
Yeah, the plant growth regulators.
okay. Yes. So, apart from that, if the root performs any function apart from the prime functions, then that means that it has been modified, and that happens in the case of stem also. Okay, stem and roots both, and sometimes leaves are also modified. So all of these modifications, they happen only and only to serve for the fact that the plants of different areas have different requirements, right? So if some plant is living in some area which requires a lot of absorption from the environment and the soil, then it has those kind of modifications. So I talked to you about the storage of food, right? And I gave you the example of sweet potato, which was the modification of a root in order to store the food, right? And then I also gave you the example of a banyan tree, isn't it? The roots hang out like branches from the tree. It looks like those are branches, but they are not. Those hanging structures from the root, they are the prop roots. Prop, you understand? Props that we use, like they are showy things, isn't it?
Yeah,
Prop is something showy, like how we use those props to click pictures. Like it is something showy. So that way, the prop roots of banyan tree are such a roots that look like branches, right? But they are actually trees. Okay. Now, moving on to stilt root. Now, this is a new thing. Now, see, in the plants like maize and sugar, okay, the plant like maize and sugarcane, is my voice clear to you guys?
yes.
Okay, I am under the weather, so my voice is a little stuffy, so I'm sorry for that. All right. So about the stilt roots. So they are basically the supporting roots. Okay, they are the supporting roots. What is their prime function? If somebody says stilt root, what would you think? You would think
Supporting.
supporting, right? Okay. Now see, the stilt roots are the supporting roots that come out of the lower nodes of maize and sugarcane. So as I said that in this particular chapter, there are a lot of examples that you need to learn. So for stilt roots, there are the two examples are maize and sugarcane. So these kind of roots, they come out of the lower node of maize and sugarcane, and they provide extra support to the plant. So their prime importance or the prime function is the supporting of the plant, right? Basically to provide support. And this is how it looks like. See, this is a diagram of sugarcane or a maize plant. Now, do you see these structures? Do you see these? So see,
Yes.
in a plant stem or in a root, there are structures known as nodes and internodes. Okay, so nodes are those structures that from which some outgrowth like the leaves come out of. Okay, in case of the stem. So nodes, and if this is a node and this is the node, then the point that comes in between is known as the internode. Okay, so since they are saying that the supporting roots come out of the lower nodes. Okay, so this is like the lowermost node. Now, see, this portion is under the ground. It is the main root of the plant. And this, the other root, the modified roots are coming from the lower node. Okay, lower nodes. So where do the stilt roots come from? They come from the lower nodes of the maize and the sugarcane plant. And the two examples that you have to remember are maize and sugarcane for stilt root. And stilt root is a modified root. Clear? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now moving forward, the next type of roots or the next type of modification is pneumatophores. Okay, pneumatophores. So see, there is a plant which is known as Rhizophora. Okay, so what happens in these plants? These plants are basically present in those areas where there is a lot of water logging. Okay, and those areas, as I said, are known as swampy areas. Okay, so those areas which have a waterlogged situation, those are known as swampy areas. What are they known as?
Swampy areas.
Swampy areas. And the plant that grows, the example that we are taking is Rhizophora. Okay, Rhizophora. So what happens? These pneumatophores are present in plants like Rhizophora. Okay, and since these plants they grow in the areas where there is a lot of waterlogging situation, and it is known as swampy area. So what happens is that many roots, they come out of the ground and they grow vertically upwards. Look at the diagram on the screen. See, all of these structures that you see, like they look like thorns or something poking out of the ground, isn't it? So all of these structures are root of the plant. And this, do you see this green thing? This thing. This green thing is a swampy area. Okay, this is the area in which the plant or the tree is growing. Okay, and this is indicating that this area is, severely waterlogged. Okay, there is more water here. So what happens is that the roots of this particular plant, they grow underneath and they start coming out. As soon as they come out, they grow vertically upwards. Roots are supposed to grow under the ground, isn't it? Like how we studied traditionally. But since we're talking the modification, so here the roots, they grow vertically upwards. They come out of the ground and they grow vertically upwards. Okay.
So the
Now
roots
this,
become green.
that is just pictorial depiction. It is not that it has to be green. Okay, this is just the pictorial representation. This is not a real picture, but this is just to show you how the roots come out of the ground. It would look like spikes coming out of ground. And the main function of why do they do this? Okay, they do this to get oxygen for respiration. Now since there is a lot of waterlogging in that area, it is hard for the plant to get oxygen, okay, for its own respiration point of view. So these roots, when they come out and they grow vertically outside the ground, these are, they are performing the function of getting the oxygen for respiration. Okay. So these roots, they help to get oxygen for respiration. And what is the name of this whole modification?
Pneumatophores.
Yes, pneumatophores. Pneumatophores. Okay, is this clear? Also tell me in which plant does this modification occur? In which plant?
Rhizophora.
Rhizophora. And they grow in what kind of area?
Swampy.
Swampy area. And what do you mean by swampy areas?
Waterlogged.
Waterlogged area. Good, very good. So that is all about the modifications of the roots. Okay. So we saw the modification of root for the storage of food. In which plant did you see that?
Maize and sugarcane.
It is there on the screen, so you say that. I am saying we saw that the roots were modified for the storage of food.
Yeah.
So in which plant it was?
Carrot.
Yes, and sweet potato.
Sweet potato and adventitious roots.
Yeah, adventitious root is there, but in sweet potato, the roots are modified to get, swollen to store the food. Okay, so that was the first modification, which was for the storage of food. And then came the stilt roots. What were the stilt roots?
Supporting.
Yes, supporting the roots. And where did they arise from?
Lower nodes.
Yes, lower nodes. And what were the two examples?
Maize and sugar.
Maize and sugarcane. And pneumatophores are present in what plant?
Rhizophora.
Rhizophora.
Plants that
Yes. Rhizophora, and all the plants that are present in the swampy areas, but particularly Rhizophora. And what is pneumatophores? What is that modification?
The roots grow out of the ground for
Vertically
respiration.
Yes, vertically upwards to get oxygen for respiration. Yes, very good. All right. So now we'll be starting with the stem, which is the next part. So see, I told you that the structure of the plant above the surface of the soil constitutes the shoot system or the stem system, right? And below constitutes the root system. So now we'll be dealing with the stem. The stem is the ascending part of the plant. Now see, if this is the soil and here are the roots, then the ascending, meaning coming out of the soil part, is known as the stem, right? This so we all know that what is the stem. So the the biological definition of a stem is that it is the ascending part of the axis. Now, what does the stem bears? What do you see on stem? What all structures can you see on a stem?
leaves and branches.
Leaves, branches,
Flowers.
fruits and flowers, right? All of these things that you can see on the stem. So what happens? It is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. Okay. And okay, now this will tell me how much of listening was happening. Tell me, where do stem develop from?
Roots.
Plumule.
Plumule. Stem develop from roots. No, they develop from the plumule. I said R for radical, R for roots, and then P for plumule, and it was for the stem. So the stem developed from plumule. Very good, Khadija. Plumule. Okay. Now, see, there are two type of structures or bearings on the stem, which are nodes and internodes. Okay. So a node is a structure from where leaves arise. For example, this is a plant and this is the leaf, this is the stem. So this structure from where the leaves are arising is known as the node. Okay. So node is a region from which the leaves arise. Okay. The leaves come out of a structure which is known as node. Now see, internode. As I said, the stem bears two structures. The first one was node and the next one was internode. So as the name suggests, I always have told you to break the word. So here, breaking the word inter and then node. What would it suggest? That it is present between two nodes, isn't it? Inter means in between. So the portion that is present in between two nodes is known as internode, right? So did you understand node and internode?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So the stem bears two structures. Those are nodes and internodes, and the stem developed from the plumule. Okay. Now see, I'd also like to tell you before moving forward. Do you see this diagram? Is it clearly visible on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Now see, this is a stem. Okay. All of it is the above the ground. Okay. So this is a stem. And the thing that I want to show you here is buds. Okay. Terminal bud and axillary bud. So the buds are of three types particularly. Okay. Basically two types. Let's take two types for the ease of our understanding. So the first type is apical or terminal bud. As the name suggests, that it is present on the terminal of the stem. Okay, terminal meaning the end, isn't it? Or apical meaning the apex, meaning the top. So the bud that is present at the apex or at the terminal or at the tip of the stem is known as the apical bud. Okay, this one. Now we'll talk about the axillary or the lateral bud. So in questions, they may be giving you the term of the bud as terminal, or they would use apical too. Okay, they might use apical, they might use terminal. So you'd have to remember that the apical is known as terminal also, and the axillary is known as lateral also. So, okay, what do you understand by the term lateral?
Sideways, side to side,
Yes,
in both
sideways.
directions.
Yes, sideways. Side is basically lateral. So axillary or lateral buds are present here. Okay, making an angle. Okay, making an angle with the node and the stem. So these are the axillary bud. Okay, this one. Is it clear?
Yes.
And see here, axil. Why it is known as axillary bud? Because it is making an axil. Axil meaning it is making an angle. How we see, like we put like this, 90 degree. Right, we do this, right? Same way here, it does not make 90 degree as such, but it is creating some sort of angle because two structures are present like this. So it is known as an axil, and the bud present in that axil is known as axillary bud. And the bud that is present at the apex or at the terminal site is known as the apical or terminal bud. So both of the buds are named so according to the place they are, isn't it? One is at the apex, so the name is apical. One is at the axil, so the name is axillary. Clear? Now these two the buds will be used further on. That is why I've explained it beforehand so that you will remember. Okay. So I told you this the stem bears two kinds of things, which is node and internode, right? And then the stem also bears two kinds of buds, which are terminal bud, and the other name for terminal bud is
Apical.
apical. And then the next type of bud that the stem bears is
Axillary or lateral.
yes, very good. And it is named as axillary because
it makes an angle.
yeah, it makes an
With the stem.
axillary. Yes, correct, very good. Okay, so see, since we are talking about the stem, what is the color of the stem that you see? What is the color of the stem? Yeah, it is green. In most of the plants that we see, the twig, the stem is usually green, right? But as soon as as the plant matures, no, it grows from a little plant to a big tree. So that stem changes color, and finally it becomes the bark of the tree. And the bark of the tree is so dark brown, right? So the color of the stem. So the color of the stem is green when the stem is young. But as soon as the stem matures, the color changes and the texture changes. Okay. Whenever we see a small plant, like, isn't it easy to break? Stem is easy to break, isn't it? But can you break a tree with your hands?
No.
No, of course not. So when the stem is young, it is green in color, but as soon as it gets older, the color changes from green to dark brown color as the bark of the tree is, and the stem becomes woody. First, it was very normal and thin and baby-like, and then it turned woody. Okay. So see, now, okay, can you tell me what do you think might be the function of a stem? Why is stem important to a plant?
It helps with the conduction of water and minerals to the
Correct.
leaves,
Yes, correct.
and it provides support to the plant.
Yes, very good and very correct. So the first and the foremost thing is that it conducts water. Anything that the root absorbs beneath the soil surface is taken up by the stem to the other parts of the plant. Okay, so the conduction of water, minerals, and photosynthase. Now see, photosynthase are basically the product of photosynthesis. They are the products of photosynthesis. So these things, the water, the minerals, and all of these are conducted from different parts to different parts by the stem. Okay. Also, the stem consists of leaves, fruits, and branches, right? It arises from the stem only. So it, it bears those also. So it bears branches. It conducts water, minerals, and photosynthesis. It also performs the function of food storage. Okay, in certain ways, it stores food also. It provides support, as you said, it provides support to the plant. It provides a framework also, right? If the stem is erect, then the plant is erect, right? If the stem is flimsy, the plant is also flimsy. So it provides a structural, framework, a structural, what a proper structure to the plant, right? And then it also provides protection. Now, since the leaves and everything, like, it tries to keep it aerial, isn't it? If the leaves and the branches and the fruits are borne on the stem, if it is present on the ground, won't other insects and animals eat it, right? So since it is high up, then it is difficult for the other, grazers or the organisms to quickly eat, right? So it provides protection also. And this last, the function of stem is that it participates in vegetative propagation. What was vegetative propagation?
You cut a part of the plant to grow another plant.
Yes.
New
So
plant.
you usually cut the stem, right? When have you seen a propagation of a rose plant?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you take a rose and you cut it like diagonally, right? Those structures, and then you put it into different kind of colors also, the color will change and all that. So that is happening through the stem only, right? And when usually for like roses and for propagation, two types of, roses are mixed, right? There are so many types of roses available in the market, right? So those are also done by the method of vegetative propagation only. And stem is involved in it since it is the part that is being cut mostly, isn't it? Mostly there is the presence of leaves also, but as far as the involvement of stem goes, it is a lot in vegetative propagation. So are all these functions of stem clear to you?
Yes.
Is there anything that you don't understand from this? No. Khudeja, is it clear? Is
And
it clear?
the
Yes.
stem also stores food.
Yeah, it stores food in some sort of way. Because, like, see, I told you the main function is conduction, right? Our main function is also structural. But as I said, the main function of the roots were also conduction, but it stored food too, as of, being a modification of it. Same way for stem also. The stems are also modified in certain ways in which they can store food also. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now we are going to study the modification of stem. Like how we studied the modification of roots, same way we are going to study the modification of stem. Now, since roots, how they were modified to perform different functions, same way the stems are also modified to perform different functions for a plant. So first of all, the first and the foremost, and this is the most common questions, the like most common form of examples that are asked in the questions, it is the underground stem. Okay, the underground stem of potato. Have you seen that the potato grows underground? It is always present beneath the soil, right? That is why it is so dusty and all. So it is present under the soil. So the underground stem of potato, the underground stem of ginger, turmeric, zameenkand, it is also some sort of vegetable, Zaminkand, zameenkand. So this is also a sort of vegetable, and the underground stem of this particular vegetable and of colocasia, they are all modified to store food. See, here is how the stems store food, because they are modified. Okay, some sort of modification happens and they are able to store food. So in potato, ginger, turmeric, zameenkand, and colocasia. All of these are the examples that you must remember since they are given in your NCERT book. And you have to remember this also, that the underground stem, okay, not the aerial one, not the one that is present above the soil surface. No, the stem which is present underground, they are modified to store food. Clear?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now see, the stems, apart from storing food, they are also sometimes modified to act as organs of perinatation. Okay. Now see, perinatation is a word that tells us about the ability of a plant to survive the winter season or the harsh season. Okay, perinatation, meaning it has the ability to thrive through the harsh weather conditions, unfavorable conditions, and all sorts of things. So the stems also act as the organ of perennation. They are the organ of perennation. So they, they make the plant overcome the unfavorable growth or unfavorable time period. Clear?
Yes.
So the first one was their modification of the underground stem to store food. Then came the modification of stem as an organ of perennation. And perennation, what is the meaning of perennation? It is basically the ability to survive the dry or the winter season. Clear?
Yes.
Basically, all the unfavorable conditions comes under this. So perinating is to survive that. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now see, there's another modification which is the stem tendrils. Okay, tendrils. Have you seen this sort of a structure in a plant? This sort of structure. You have seen? So tendrils are spiral-like structure. They are coiled structure that helps the plant to climb. Okay, it is. Have you heard about the plants that are known as climbers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Climbers, and there are creepers, right? You've heard about them. So the
Yes.
climbers have tendrils present in them. And those tendrils which are present in the climbers are a modification of stems. Yes. Tendrils are the modification of stem. And they are present in climbers. Okay, the most common example of tendrils is climbers. Okay, climbers. So they are spiral coil-like structure that helps the plant to climb and provide support. Now see, all those climbers, they require support because their stem are not that advanced so as to, keep it high up. And since for example, watermelon. Now, have you seen a watermelon? Do you like watermelon?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the watermelons, have you seen that they are so huge in size?
Yeah.
Usually they are very huge. Now imagine that huge structure. How can it be held high from the ground? Isn't it? The plant is going to go down only since the structure is so high. And one watermelon is not the only thing that is present on the plant. Like there are several watermelons, right?
Yeah.
So that is why it is an adaptation of a watermelon plant or a cucumber plant. All of these plants, they adapt themselves in some sort of a way that these tendrils are present. Now see, look at this picture. Do you see this thing? The white thing, the tendril-like thing. Do you see here? Is it visible? Shall I zoom it for you?
No.
No. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Now see. Yes. Look at this white structure. The spiral, it is coiled, right? It is coiled like this. Right? It is not so dense, but usually the coiling is there, and this is done so as to grab onto a surface and to climb it, to get support from the surface. Okay. And what are the examples? The examples are gourds, all the bitter gourds and all butter gourds, all those come under this. Then there is cucumber, there are pumpkins, watermelons, and grape vines. Even grapes, the plants of grapes, have you seen them?
Yes.
The plants, the grape plants, they are also, they also have tendrils. Okay. So here, tendrils are the modification of the stem. Okay. And they are there to perform the function, like to help the plant to climb and to get support. Okay, and they are present in plants like gourds, cucumber, pumpkins, watermelon, and grape vines. Clear? These are the examples that you must remember. Tendrils are clear to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now, do you remember I told you about the axillary bud?
Yeah.
Yeah, they arose at the axil of the plant, isn't
Yes.
it? So the stem tendrils, they are the modified axillary bud. Okay, axillary buds were present on the stem, right? It is a part of a stem. So the stem tendrils, that is, they are the modification of axillary bud. Okay, they are the modification of axillary bud. Okay, now moving on. There are some plants known as citrus and bougainvillea. Okay, so these plants, their axillary buds are modified to thorn-like structures. Okay, have you ever held a rose in your hand?
Yeah.
Have you seen thorns sticking out of it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, sometimes they're so pokey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Same way, those kind of thorns are present in citrus and bougainvillea. So these two are the examples given in the book. So the thorns are so hard. Now, have you ever tried to like break those thorns or like take them out of the stem? Have you ever tried this? No. People don't explore, don't you?
We're hurting the plant.
Anyway, so if you like try, yes?
We're hurting the plant.
Sorry, what?
Nothing. Nothing.
No, say.
Like if you remove it, then you're hurting the plant, right? If you're like kind of.
Oh, okay. You're hurting the plant. Okay. Okay. So like imagine. Okay, now we can imagine it. So if you like look at that structure, okay, if you like to try to put your finger on it, you would find that it is very hard. Okay, it is a very hard structure. So the thorns, as we know that since they are thorns, they are meant to poke you, isn't it? So the thorns are woody, they are straight, and they are pointed. Their structure is like this, isn't it? They're like pointed, they are woody, and they are straight. No thorn is like this, isn't it? It is always pointed. So it is always pointed and it is always straight. And they are found in citrus and bougainvillea. And what is the purpose? Their purpose, the sole purpose, is to protect the plant from browsing animals. Now see, there are so many animals that depend on the plant for their food, right? And what those animals do, they go into the field and they eat the plant directly. So see, if there has to be some sort of protective mechanism, so thorns are honestly the best type of mechanism. Just imagine an animal went to a field to eat a citrus plant. And now what mechanism does citrus plant has? It has a stem modification, which is a thorn. And thorn is also a modification of what kind of bud?
Axillary.
Axillary bud. Now see, when the animal came to eat that particular plant, the thorns poked its mouth. Right? If you try to eat a thorn, it will like hurt you. So from the next time, that animal won't come to eat that plant. Okay, so it is a defense mechanism, sort of a protection for plant. Okay, so thorn is a modification of the stem, particularly the axillary bud, and it is done so as to protect itself from browsing animals. Browsing animals means the animals that come into the field to eat plants, since they are herbivores. Okay,
Yes.
is it clear? Yes, say.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now moving forward. Now see, there are plants that are present in the desert areas, right? Then there are plants that are present in the areas where there is a lot of rainfall, the tropical areas, the temperate areas. So those plants which are present in the desert areas, okay, desert areas are also known as arid areas, ARID, arid or arid areas. Okay, meaning of which is where there is little rainfall, little to no or little precipitation or rainfall is there. Like deserts, the rain is very irregular, isn't it? There is no such rainy seasons there. So those kind of areas are known as arid or arid areas. And the plants which grow in those areas, they modify their stem. Okay. Now, since they are living in such harsh condition where there is very little rainfall, now plants require water, isn't it? Now, none of us go into the jungles to water plants, right? They grow on their own and they depend solely on one source of water, which is the rainwater, right? So, the plants that are present in these desert areas or the areas where there is little rainfall, so their stems are modified in such a way. Some of the, like in Opuntia, have you seen a cactus?
No.
Yeah. In pictures also you must have seen, right? So the cactus, the scientific name of cactus is Opuntia. Okay. It is a cactus. So the cactus, have you seen the cactus plant, how it has spikes all over it, and it is a flattened structure, isn't it? It is very flat like structure. So in Acacia, the structure of the stem is flat. Okay, and then there is another plant which is known as Euphorbia. In that, the structure of the stem is fleshy. Okay, fleshy meaning thicker, isn't it? So those two, like these modifications that help these plants to absorb water, to retain water, and also these structures are green, so they carry out photosynthesis also. It is said that the leaves are responsible for photosynthesis. Okay, since stomata is present on the leaves. But in the case of, see, leaves are present there, but there are a lot of processes that happen on the leaves, like transpiration. Do you know about transpiration? What is transpiration?
The stomata, when the water.
Water.
Yes. Yes. Say. Why are you
Water.
hesitating? The water. What is happening? What is happening to the water?
The guard cells and stuff.
See, transpiration is the water loss. Somebody said water loss, right? Who said water loss? Khudaija, did you say water loss? Or Mariam, did you say what?
I said
I-
just
Okay. Whoever said water loss, yes. Transpiration is the process through which water is lost from the leaves of the plant. Okay. So, see, if leaves are present in a plant, then water loss is going to happen because of transpiration. And transpiration occurs in bright sunlight. So if we are talking about those plants that are present in the desert areas, now do you see that there is already little to no rainfall. And after that, when leaves are present, if transpiration occurs, then what will happen to the plant? It will eventually die because you are not giving me water and you are taking my water, right? So the plant will eventually die. So that is why the plants in the desert area or in the arid areas, they do not have leaves. Okay, they have a flattened stem or a fleshy stem that contain chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So here the stem performs photosynthesis instead of the leaves. Now leaves are not present because of the transpiration. If transpiration is going to occur, then the plant will die because it is not getting water from the soil, right? Because the desert areas or the arid areas have little to no rain. Is it clear?
yes.
What are the two examples of the modification of the plants which are present in desert areas? First one is Opuntia.
And Euphorbia.
Euphorbia, correct. Okay. Now see. We are talking about the underground modification of stem. Okay. Now see, have you seen grasses?
Yes.
And you must have seen a strawberry plant. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, so these two are the examples. Okay. So in grasses and in strawberry plant, what happens is that the underground stem, it spreads. Okay, it starts spreading and it moves to different parts, and when the part of the plant dies, a new plant is formed. Okay, now look at this picture. Okay, look at this picture. Now see, do you see this? Just a second, where is my cursor? Okay, do you see this white part?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is like so long, isn't it? So this particular part, see, whenever we talk about grasses, we only see this part, isn't it? Above the ground surface, right? You only see this part, isn't it? But these structures, these are known as runners. Okay, they are known as runners. RUNNERS. They are known as runners. They are present in grasses and they are present in strawberries. And these structures, what happens is that they spread to different parts. Like, see, this is not one grass. These are so many grasses in one part, right? So what happens is that it spreads to, long distances, and then when a part of it or a plant dies, then a new plant is formed from these branches. Okay, and this thing is known as runners. It is a modification of underground stem. Okay, I'll show you a diagrammatic view also. For example, this is the grass. Okay, the structure that we see above the ground surface, right? Above the soil surface, we see this part. We see this part and this. But if you look closely, the next time you're in a field, if you look closely, you would find that each of the structure that is present outside the soil surface is connected through this thing, and it is so long and it has so many grasses coming out of it. Okay, it is really long and it spreads to long distances, and this structure, this spreading or this long structure is known as a runner. Okay, and this runner is the underground modification of stem. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, now moving forward, the next type of underground or the modification of stem is stolons. Okay, it is stolons. Now I told you about the position lateral, right? Lateral is sideways position. So the lateral branches which arise from the main axis, and after growing aerially, they are downwards to touch the ground. See, look here. For example, this is the soil surface. Okay, this is the soil, and here this one is the stem, right? And this is the root. Now look at here. The stem is coming out of the surface of the soil and it is growing aerially. It is not present under it, right? And it is not present on the ground. But do you see it in the air? Right? It is making an arc, isn't it? This structure. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
See that it is making an arc above the ground surface. It is not touching the ground. And then after being in the air or being aerial, it finally touches the ground and a new plant is there. Okay. So this structure is known as a stolon. Okay. It is known as a stolon. Now, stolons are basically, they are present there, to enhance the growth of the plant. Okay, basically to enhance the growth of the plant. And let's see the two examples. So the example here is mint. Okay, the mint plant is usually like this. And there is another plant known as jasmine. So these two are the examples for stolon. And stolon are also the modification of stem, in which the stem grows aerially and then touch the ground after forming an arc. Clear?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Any doubts?
No.
No. All right. Now moving forward, it is the next type of modification of stem, and it is known as offset. Okay, it is yet another lateral branch with a short internode. Okay, I told you that internodes are the structures that are present in between two nodes, right? So it is a lateral branch with a short internode, meaning the distance of the internode or the length of an internode is short. Okay, it is a short internode, and each node, the node is the area from which the branches come out from the stem. So each node bears a rosette of leaves and a tuft of roots. Okay, meaning, see, look at the diagram here. This particular part, are you seeing this part? Thing that I'm highlighting, is my pen, the ink visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this particular part is known as the internode. Okay, internode. Why? Because it is present in between two nodes. Okay, this structure here and this structure here are known as the nodes. And what arises from the nodes? No, not here, but in general, what arises from the nodes?
Leaves.
Branches and leaves, both of them. Okay, branches also arise from the node and leaves also arise. So as you can see over here, since leaves are arising, okay, this is the leaves, right? So since leaves are arising from this particular point and here also, so that is known as the node, and the structure present between 1 and 2 nodes is known as
Internode.
So here in the plant, the internode is short. Okay, it is short. And when we talk about the node, then above the surface of the soil, there is a rosette of leaves. Now, do you understand what is the meaning of rosette?
Arranged like a rosette.
Yeah, arranged like a rose. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this structure, it looks like a rose, right? How roses petals are like so, like that. Nah? So the arrangement is like a rosette, and it is a rosette of leaves, right? And then below the node is the tuft of roots. Okay, these are the roots. Now, can you tell me the meaning of tuft? T-U-F-T.
Like many roots.
Many. Remember, I told you in fungi.
The tuft of hyphae.
Yeah, tuft of hyphae was there, right?
Yeah.
Now, can you tell me what is the meaning of a tuft or a trough?
The network, thread-like.
Yeah, thread-like network, but like how? Remember, I told you one very weird word that comes in Urdu also about tuft, a trough.
Gucha.
A bundle, meaning a bundle. A gucha means a bundle. So bundle. So a bundle of roots arise from the node. Okay. So two structures arise from the node, which first one is the rosette of leaves, and then the next one is the tuft of roots. And then the structure present between the two nodes is known as internode, and the internode is short. Okay. Now, this particular structure, this whole arrangement is known as offset. Okay, it is known as offset. And it is present in two types of plants. The first one is pistia and next one is ecornia. Now, always underline them because they are the scientific names of the plant. Okay, wherever you see common names, write them as it is. Okay, wait. In the question, the test, wherever there was a scientific name, if there your answer had it, did you underline it and wrote it according to the nomenclature rules?
Yes.
If you did, then very good. And if you didn't, I will cut your marks.
The phycomyces, those ones, the examples.
Yeah. Did you underline it?
Yeah, I underlined it.
Very good. Okay. All right. So that was all about offset. Is it clear to you?
Yes.
The offsets are clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Finally, the last type of modification is the suckers. Okay. Now, what happens in the suckers? First, let's see the examples of it. So the first one, the example is banana, which you have to remember. So banana, there is chrysanthemum. It is a flower. Okay, a flowering plant, chrysanthemum. Okay, so in banana, in chrysanthemum, and there is another example, pineapple. Pineapple. So in these three, you don't have to underline, but I'm just like stressing it. Okay, so in these three, chrysanthemum, you need to underline. So, okay, so a modification of stem, which is known as a sucker, is present in them, and in there, the lateral branch, the sideways branch, they originate from the basal meaning at the base. Okay, from the basal and the underground portion of the main stem. For example, if this is the main stem, so it arises from the basal part, meaning at the base, or from the underground part, and then it grows horizontally. Okay, it grows horizontally beneath the surface of the soil. If, for example, this is the surface of the soil and this is the upper part of the stem, then it arises from here. It arises from the base of the stem and it grows inside. Okay, it grows horizontally inside the surface of the soil, meaning underground. Okay, and then it comes out. Okay, and then it comes out to give leaves and all. Now see, this is in an example of a banana plant or banana tree. And as you can see over here, do you see this structure down there? Now see, it is arising. Isn't it arising from the base? From here? This is the base of the plant, right? So it arises from the base of the plant and it is still present under the surface of the soil, isn't it? It is present here under the surface of the soil, and then it comes out of the soil and bears leaves. So this particular structure is known as a sucker. Okay, and it is also an underground modification of the stem. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Is this?
what is it used for?
It
What
is
is it used
basically it is basically used for propagation purposes also. Since a new plant is arising from a different way, right? So it is used for that also, and also because it has to give leafy shoots. Okay, if a plant part, it is sort of a modification. Okay, now we are talking about modifications, and now there is no such important use of this particular modification, but sometimes it is used in propagation. And the only thing that you have to remember over here is that it is a modification of a stem,
for?
and all sorts of examples. Okay, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts?
No.
No. I think that you people find this topic very boring.
Yes.
Is it true or is it true?
It is true.
It is true. Okay. It's fine, but still you have to learn, because now the next time this will only come in the test, isn't it?
Yeah.
This will be the chapter coming in the test. Yeah. So is there any doubt or is there any question that you want to ask me from this whole topic that we discussed? Either it is the modification of the root or the stem or anything. No. Okay. See, your next class is on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So till then you like read it multiple times. Okay. Read it multiple times and read your NCRT. Everything is given in your NCRT. Okay. I will also share this particular notes with you, and you read it like multiple times and always try to mug up the examples, because examples are necessary in this particular chapter. Anywhere they'll ask you about a structure or anything, you'd have to give the examples. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Is there anything else you want to ask me? Any comments, suggestions? Comment of the day, quote of the day? None? All right. So is this your last class for today, or do you have more classes after this?
Last.
Last class. Okay. So I'll provide you the homework, and the homework is to learn. Okay, learn all of these topics. Also, one more thing, do not forget biological classification. Okay, no matter how, like, the more forward you go with your chapters, the topics, keep a day, like, which is your day off? Friday is your day off?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on Friday, what you do is take out your book, go through the previous chapter, not the chapter that I'm currently teaching. Go to the chapter which I have already taught, and then open it and read it, and try to solve questions if you have practice books or something with you. Or even if you don't, try to read